The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I posted a couple panels from the Hawkgirl comic. I think we're on issue 3 at this point. Axelrod's writing it. And it is, the panels were funny. Sorry. 2 were funny. One was painful a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about. But the 2 that are funny is one of the characters is like, that's why you put a mouth hole in your mask, so you can eat. And it's just weird dialogue, and it's funny. And there's a Twitter account called Comics Out of Context, and it's all it does is post panels. And it's a really, no matter who you are, no matter what your politics are, no matter whether you love the current comics, hate the current comics, etc., I think this Twitter account can be for you because it just takes panels from all eras, the 40s all the way up to today. And it's just panels where it's weird, where the dialogue is like, well, wait a minute, it's out of context stuff, Reed Richards going, I'd like to stretch into you. And it's like, whoa, wait, what? And of course, and if you read the whole context of it, he's, talking to some villains and keeping them from running away or something like that. So anyway, good Twitter account. But I post panels like that from time to time. Of course, we're in the highly politicized, polarized era where if you post a panel from a current comic, no matter how silly it is, you're making a statement. But this mouth hole, it doesn't matter really what era it's from, what comic it's from, what writer, what any of that stuff is. If a character in a panel is saying, you put a mouth hole in your mask so you can eat food, that's kind of funny. It's just funny, and it's silliness. You can call it comedy, you can call it cringe, you can call it whatever you like, but it is by its nature funny. So anyway, this comic had some other panels, and one of them was the villains are causing some mischief, and the villain goes, "Oh, I love this. I love what we're doing here. The Court of Owls. It's like Cirque du Soleil, but with blood." And again, that's funny or cringe, depending on what you want. It's certainly it's a take, but this is kind of what is going on. So, but the other 2, I posted 2 pages, and the pages are of Hawkgirl, kind of going on this rant. She's fighting a villain. She clearly has a villain defeated. At this point, the villain is bloodied up and not landing any punch and just completely done. And Hawkgirl is punching the hell out of this kind of mutated owl-like monster. And the character is an owl-ish, but maybe looks a little bit like Hawkman when he was his kind of monster form during Metal. I don't know, whatever, but somebody within DC lore can give the proper name for that. But anyway, so she's punching away, and basically you've got 2 pages for beating the shit out of this villain that's defeated. And then she says, "I am so tired of men telling me who they think I am. You, Grandpa, Carter, Roy, John, Zuriel, I had a literal angel look me in the eyes and tell me I'm someone else. That I don't know myself." She's punching away. And then the dialogue continues. It's a lot. When I think about this, one of my beefs, by the way, and I'm sure most of you will not agree with this take, but one of the things that always takes me out of the experience a little bit with Spider-Man is when he's like, joking away while he's fighting and jumping around. And in reality, he'd be kind of out of breath, focused on not getting shot. And so it always, when there's tons and tons and tons of jokes, I don't want him to be non-jokey, but when he's doing tons of jokes while he's in the middle of the action, it always takes me out of the experience a little bit. Again, I'm sure you feel differently. I know I'm the minority opinion in that one, but it is what it is. But this is like that. So anyway, the dialogue continues. And I was dumb enough to believe them, dumb enough to believe every last one of them, as if their opinion mattered. You think because you've got a pair of wings and a mace, you know things? You know about me? You gonna tell me who I am and when, and then leave? Go off on some glorious destiny with a white version of me you like better? And then there's a little shot of her just like crying by a couch. Maybe with a cat. I don't know. Some kind of animal she's cradling. It's a flashback. Basically, she's angry, and now the writer is going, let's put a panel in there when she was really sad, and this is her kind of liberation moment. And she goes, "You dare think your version of me, your opinion, is more important than who I think I am?" Which was said like 2 panels ago, but we're gonna say it again. And then she yells, "I am Hawkgirl," and then she continues to just again beat the living shit out of this villain. And she says, "I earned that title. It's mine. I get to say what it means. Not you. You don't know me. You never did. You only saw what you wanted to see. I saved the damn world without you. I don't need you, Carter. I don't need." And then the character that she's beating up, who's not Carter Hall, but just like a villain who's been kind of transformed, is like, and he goes, "Fair name." And she's like, "What?" Screams at him, and then he dissolves into dust because she's basically killed him. He goes, "My name is Fahrenheit. Who's Carter?" And she goes, "Who's anyone?" And so anyway, so these 2 pages. But it's baffling writing to a large extent. So there's a bunch of things here. Number one, it's just bad writing because several of the statements in the panel, several of the big kind of liberation moment of like, I know who I am, and the rage, it's repeated. Like she says it twice. So it's not good writing. It's like repetitive, bad, just writing in a whole. What's going on here is the writer has set up this moment, and this is what it's important to kind of understand when you think about these panels. The writer has set up this moment where she's saying, Hawkgirl in this new title is uncertain of herself. And she's been kind of, this background character, and she's been uncertain. And now she's kind of, coming into her own. She's basically realizing she is her own person. She is a hero in her own right. She doesn't need to measure by others. She's just as capable, just as competent, just as good as anyone else. And she's going to stop measuring herself by other people and instead just be herself. That's what this page is supposed to be. Now, think for a moment, take away the goofy dialogue and all the stuff that's happened over the last 10 years and kind of the way everybody's all wound up about this stuff. And think about it this way. This is not an unusual moment. The idea of the hero who's been kind of playing second fiddle or who has been uncertain of themselves, finally snapping in the course of battle and going, I am powerful. I am my own person. I can do this. And then kind of raging out and it's this moment of self-realization. That's a pretty tried and true plot element. It did not start with Hawkgirl number 3. This has been around for a long time, and it's been around for men, for women, for all different kinds of characters. You've seen this moment play out. Very, very common. What's happening here is that it's written very poorly first, and then on top of that, it is also, because it's been used before, because it's tried and true, it's also tired. It's tried and true and tired. And so part of the reaction you get when you're reading this is, as a reader, you're going, I wasn't born yesterday. I've read the comic. I've watched the movie, watched the show of the woman who realizes she doesn't need to live in the shadow of anyone else. She can be her own hero. And then she has this self-declaration statement of independence and power, and off she goes. Like, I've read this before. This feels extremely ham-fisted. Particularly when you also just decide, I'm going to throw in some stuff about race and other stuff in there, like, you think a white version of me is better? No. Look, I mean, here's the part that makes this so weird, is that I am not a huge Hawkman fan. I'm not Carter fan. I don't hate the character. I would be lying if I'm like, this is one of the most dearly beloved characters to my heart and soul. He's not. But he's cool. I mean, I've read good comics. I did like the Vendetti series that was done there. But this, if they have not written Carter, like there's no comic out there where Carter's like, you know what, I like a white woman better. That doesn't and the idea, if you think about these characters as heroes, as people who are going to save the planet, which includes people of all races, and kind of lay their lives on the line, in Carter's case, sacrifice his life multiple times. There's no, and never, letting go of the fact that he's been represented with different ethnicities himself. I mean, look, the idea that we're now going to say this character was racist and that she needs to be liberated from this is absurd. It's just full out stupid. And so it doesn't come off as an empowering moment. It comes off as the writer's therapy coming out on the page. And I hope, Axelrod doesn't have situations, in their life where, somebody left them for another race. I mean, that's shitty. If that happened to, in real life, I'm sorry to hear it. But to throw it into the comic is, especially in a situation where that wasn't what happened, that wasn't how the characters are. And then you could say, well, this is how the character is feeling. Well, you're the writer. I guess you get to decide that. But it makes the character come across like a villain, not a hero, particularly when they beat somebody to death, which is what happens here, while expressing their independence. And even after the character is dead, she goes, who's anyone? I don't know. You just spent 2 pages saying you know who you were. So what does that even mean? I mean, it just, all this stuff is just poor writing. And, again, the reason why it's written this way is the writer's trying to have that moment. The writer's trying to go, I've been writing, Hawkgirl, and we're trying to get her to find herself and kind of be her own hero and have that self-confidence, kind of the journey that a lot of people in their lives go through around, getting older and, going from being a teenager to an adult and having that self-realization and actualization, all that kind of stuff. And so that's the comic I want to write. I want to write this character being, self-actualized. And so that's what we're doing here. Okay. Again, fine. But doing it this way, I think it does more harm than good in a lot of cases. And what I mean by harm is that it's written poorly. So the big statement of independence doesn't come off that way. It comes off like a, unfortunately, and again, I think a lot of you will disagree with this take too. You remember G.I. Joe cartoons in the 80s, and then they'd have something at the end where it's like kids playing with matches, and one of the G.I. Joe guys comes over like, if you play with matches, you could burn down your house. You should always be safe. The kid's like, wow, I learned an important lesson. Now I'm better. Thank you. It's like, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. And then they would do, that's the level of depth that these pages have. Everybody who's reading this gets what's going on. They're like, okay, she's saying she's her own hero. The problem is the vast majority of readers are like, yeah, we read, Metal. We read some of these other comics. We're aware she's a hero. Nobody was out there going, I don't know, this woman does it. I don't think she's a real hero. Nobody was saying that. Nobody was thinking it. They were already good. And so, you get this like, PSA for, women's liberation. It's like, what, does it speak to anyone? I'm sure it does. I'm sure there's a couple people who read it. I'm sure there's people on Twitter who are like, this was the most powerful moment in comics in the history of comics. I'm sure, why not? You always have that take from somebody. But this is why you get people, mocking, joking, clowning on comics, is because you have moments like this which just feel, frankly absurd. And it's not because it's a woman saying it. It's because it's written terrible. That's all. Again, you put a man in this, you put anybody in this. And this is a trap that comics have fallen into. We've seen it with Cena Grace when he would have pages like this with Iceman where he's like, but I am gay. And again, people look at this and go, why is he yelling this out to the world like this? This isn't that. None of this rings true to the character. None of it's good storytelling. It's just goofy. Anyway, somebody observed that the only people talking about this book are YouTube channels, and I guess I just contributed to that. And that's true. And ultimately, that's the fate that will befall this book. It's going to get canceled in under 12 issues. And it's, sales are poor. Nobody's talking about it. And so that then, this is always also what I think. So basically, let's say the message that Hawkgirl is saying here is very important. Let's say her message is, is one more people need to hear. Let's say for a moment that we've got a bunch of readers out there who have been either abused or dismissed by men, maybe because of their race, maybe because men just don't think women can do things. Maybe you have people who've told, women who they are rather than let them be themselves. Let's say that this is, a real problem. And, the writer wants to write a comic that, helps support and gives them some strength. This comic will not do that. The poor writing, the ham-fisted way it was discussed and everything else becomes a joke versus, inspiration. And so if DC or the writer or others wanted to create inspiration, they failed. And that's the part that I think should sting a little bit. That, even in the thing you were trying to accomplish, well-meaning or not, it didn't come across. It didn't work. So how, the lesson to take from it is, how do we do it better next time? If we want to convey that message, how do we do it in a way that generates inspiration as opposed to laughter? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.